Yeah. And Jeff, one of your themes throughout your morning market notes that you do is to say that sentiment has a great part to play in the way that the market reacts. And this week we saw some news round about vaccines that seem to boost midweek market returns. Chris, giving this question to you, what do you feel about that? Do you think sentiment is the key driver going forward, particularly in the portfolios, bearing in mind that you have both equity content and bond content, which have delivered good returns?
Yeah, sure. No, it's a good question. I think, if we think back to kind of what's been driving the market overall, there's a couple of points there over the past few months. Really, it's been around the reopening of global economies, and it's really been around central bank stimulus and government support. So obviously what you saw was a very fast fall in equity markets, and then you've seen a rebound come through from there. I think there's some nervousness that actually there's a little bit of a disconnect between what's happening within equity markets overall and what's happening within the general economic data, but that isn't a reason for equity markets not to move further upwards. I think from my perspective within the portfolios, sentiment is incredibly important, and sentiment can be a driver of asset price movement overall, but you've also then got to bring it back to the fundamentals as well. I think within the portfolios, one thing that I think is exceptionally important is diversification. And for me, that is really key to everything that we do within True Potential as a business and within the portfolios overall. And moving forward, whichever way equity markets, asset prices move, we know that the best way to be positioned is with a diversified portfolio, which is diversified by assets, country, currency, and with the True Potential proposition also by manager style as well.
I think to build on that, Mark, it's quite interesting just to think about how sentiment plays quite an important part in the near term in markets, and short-term momentum, one would argue, is very much sentiment driven. And as Chris has said there's been a number of factors that have been very important to sentiment, and anything that comes with a vaccine or medical advance as it relates to dealing with COVID-19 is treated positively. And ultimately, why is that? Because it could speed up the reopening of economies and support economies returning back to the growth trajectories that they had seen pre-COVID-19. And as Chris says, medium to longer term, it's value that wins out. And as a great value investor, Ben Graham, would have said that, well, the market in the near term's a voting machine, but in the long term it's a weighing machine. And what did he mean? That ultimately fundamentals win out over time. The key debate there is time, and everybody has a very different time horizon. So there is sentiment near term is very important to markets, and that's why I suppose through time we know that momentum as a factor that drives asset prices is one of those things that has sustained, and is a factor that people do use to invest with and to think about.
Yeah.